Hi everyone, welcome to Quit the Raven Games. This is going to be a very quick tutorial on how to use the roster creation tool in the Tabletop Simulator Marvel Crisis Protocol mod. When you first log into Tabletop Simulator, you'll have your map here and all of your tools. On the left side of the board, by default, if you're sitting in the red seat, is going to be this roster creation tool here. There are several default rosters that you can choose that have examples from everything from Asgard to Avengers, and so on and so forth. And so those are kept in the rosters booklet here. But for those of you wanting to create your own roster and save it for use in later games, you're going to want to use a combination of the character cards, secure, extract, crises, and all these things over here, and this little tool on the side over here that lets you create your own custom roster. Note that there's some websites here that you can use that you can paste a code in the top here that will allow you to generate a roster straight from that website's coordination. But I think that we might be covering that in another video or something. So in order to get started, what you're going to want to do is search for several cards or several characters that you want to put into your roster. So I'm just going to pull a couple of example ones out from the bank here, and we'll go with that. I'm not looking to create anything that might be a specific affiliation, but I will throw in a leader just to showcase some of the format that you can get when you put in the correct number of characters for generating a squad. So we have 9 characters so far. We'll throw in one more, 10 characters. So these characters you're all just going to take them, lift them up, and drop them into that roster creation tool on the left side there. And you can see it just kind of sucks them all in. I think you can even do it more than one at a time, grabbing them all and putting them inside here. The next thing you're going to want to do is select 8 tactics cards to go in your roster. I'm just going to pick 8 random ones here. 4, 5. Take all of these, and we're going to put these into the roster creation tool as well. If you ever want to know what's in your roster that you're creating, you can right-click this and click Search, and this will bring up a menu to show you all the items that you've already put into the tool. We need to put some crises in our roster, so I'm going to take 3 random extracts, and I'm going to take 3 random secures, and I'm going to put all of those into the roster creation tool. And then finally, we're ready to create it. Again, we can search to verify what we want is in here. And you can, if you zoom in, you can see that you're even able to change the picture on the top of it to select what you want. I think this change picture button will let you upload your own custom artwork should you want to. But for now, we're going to focus on using the tool as it is in the mod. Let's click Create Roster. You'll see that this spawns what looks like an index card that you can move around the mod and you can interact with. There's a couple things to note here. This is what is going to form your actual roster, this object, and in order to bring this up in multiple games, you're going to need to save it. So you're going to want to right-click and click Save Object. This will allow you to put this object somewhere in your Saved Objects folder. I've created a separate subfolder called MCP Rosters to keep my things organized, and I can save this under whatever name I want. But I'm going to cancel for now so that we can show off a couple of more features, and we'll come back to that. To actually use your roster and look at it in the game, as well as using the roster to generate your squad for that day or that game, you'll need to lift the roster and place it in the roster tool up top here. This button, Show Roster, will bring out all of the things that you are looking at here. I think it may have excluded my alternate artwork Captain America, so let's go and close this roster, put that off to the side, and make that fix here. going to search for Captain America and use the default artwork. Make sure that plays well with the roster tool. I'm going to create a new roster and delete the old one. Put that here. When you're looking at your roster card, you may want to change the name of the roster, and you can do that down here. You right click and you just select this area and say example roster, and then select away from it, and you can see that that will get saved. That shows up down there. It also shows up on the top of the roster tool, or the roster card. It says you can, once you select it again, it'll show up there. So example roster. We're going to drag this into the tool and open roster. So you can see all of my characters are here, all my crises are here, and all of my tactics cards are on the bottom. So let's start just clicking some characters that we want to put in our roster. So right now, it shows us that it's possible for us to run this as an Avengers roster. So we can select several more characters and see that that's still possible down here. This calculator up top will show you how much the threat level is for the current roster. And this button, Auto Activate, will produce these characters and put them over here for you to play with. It'll also get out all of the miniatures and everything that you would need. But no roster is going to be complete without selecting your team tactics that you want to use. I'm just going to select 5 random cards here. I know that some of these might not actually apply to an Avengers roster, but this is just to showcase the functionality of the tool. So let's start by saying that we're rolled per priority. We've selected extracts, and we're going to use the select extract button. This will effectively shuffle the 3 extracts that you have of that color, and it will give you 2 of them which you can pick from. If you want to hide your decisions from your opponent, you can use this white hide roster button, which will turn this area into a hidden area, and then your opponent will not be able to see the selections that you're making prior to the match. To turn off that function, you want to use the reveal roster button here. So we'll say we select extracts, and then we come up with 2 different choices. We're going to pick that one. Clicking the use button will make it appear here on this tool here. When you and your opponent decide which ones you're going to play, you can flip it over. Returning to the roster creation tool, right now we can use the Auto Activate button to generate our 17 threat level Avengers roster. Prior to clicking Auto Activate, if you want to use your faction symbol, make sure that you select it here. This will generate extra tokens for you to use with your characters. Let's Auto Activate. Alright, there we go. It's loaded my roster. And now I can take these characters and use them in the game. Okay. Note that your roster is still saved over here on the side. If you want to use it, you can take it out, you can put it away, you can do whatever you want with it. Let's just demonstrate how to save it. So we're going to go right click, click Save Object, and it comes up populated with the name that you selected in the tool when you named it. So we're going to go to MCP Rosters, and we'll click Save. To recover your roster at a later time, you need to make sure that you're either the host of the game, or you have been granted, you have been promoted when you join somebody else's game. Once you have that, you're going to click on Objects at the top and go to Save Objects. You can navigate through to the folder that you selected to save them in, and there you can see all the rosters that you have created. So I have a couple examples here myself. When you find the one that you're looking for, you want to just drag it out and drop it on the table, or you can select it with left click, and you can left click a bunch of times to spawn more than once. When you're in this viewpoint, I believe the escape key on the keyboard will get you back to this menu here. So we have too many of these rosters, so right now we're just going to delete them. I'm also going to select and delete these characters here. Let's see, I'm going to reduce the number of character trays that I have available. Right-clicking this will remove the character trays. get rid of those. Now, put this back in here, and I'm going to open my roster. This will tell you how to save rosters of a given point level. So let's say I want to save a roster that's a 17-point roster. I'm going to use a couple of Avengers here to get my roster built out, and we'll add in one more character. If you hover over these numbers under the Reveal Roster button, you'll see that this will let you save a roster for use later on. I'm going to put in 5 tactics cards. So this is a 17-point roster up here. We're going to focus on the 17 button. If we right-click on the 17 button, it will save all of the selections that we've made as a 17-point roster. So let's do that now. You'll see that it kind of takes the roster away, saves the changes, and then brings the roster back so that you can do other configurations if you want. Currently, the roster tool will let you save one roster for every point level. So then when you know that you have a 17-point roster saved, you can left-click on this, and it will bring open, it will automatically select all of the items that you had chosen to use. We can make a couple changes here, and we'll say we take out Black Widow, and now we have a 15-point threat level squad. So we're going to then right-click on 15, it will save that, and then now I can access easily either a 15-point roster or a 17-point roster. For now, we're going to close our roster. Let's take it out of the tool, and make sure that you save this again, save object, right-click Save Object, and I'm going to save it as example roster and overwrite the one I previously had. Every time you add these saved rosters to your roster tool, you need to make sure that you save it again, or else they won't be held over from the previous modifications that you made. I've deleted that one. I'm going to go and pull it out of my saved roster menu here. And I'm going to show that when I spawn it into a new game like this and open roster, I can now easily access my 17 and my 15-point choices. From there you can auto-activate it again, and it will spawn all of those choices that you've made for use in your 15-point game. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. Hope you guys enjoy using the roster creator